The 7 train is a legend. It cuts through Queens like steel artery. Alone, unbothered, and unapologetically iconic. Like the L train in Brooklyn, it doesn't need company to be great. It runs in solitude and still dominates the conversation in terms of Queens transit. But today, we're flipping the script because while everybody is busy debating local versus express, Flushing versus Hudson Yards, there's a silent sibling waiting in the wings. A train with the same purple bloodline, but none of the spotlight. The 11 train. What if the 11 had potential? What if it wasn't just a ghost of the 7, but a future icon in its own right? What if the 11 could outshine the 7 not by copying it, but by becoming something entirely new? This isn't just transit speculation. This is a challenge to the status quo, a reimagining of what Queens Transit could be. And today, we're giving the 11 train its moment. Let's ride. Before I start this video, I want to apologize about my unusual amount of glitches in my last video. But this time, we're back on track today. Literally. Now that we're locked in on the Flushing line, let's talk about something that's been quietly brewing in my mind. The 11. Everyone talks about the 7 Express, the 7 Local, the 7's cultural legacy. But nobody talks about its colored counterpart, the 11 train. Now here's how I see this proposal. The 11 starts strong, same route as the 7, from Flushing to Jackson Heights. But west of Jackson Heights, that's where the magic happens. It carves its own path, and that's where things get interesting. I'm going to introduce a new express and local system, which is the 11 as the local, and the 10 as its express counterpart. After Jackson Heights, both trains head south. Local stops, Queens Boulevard and Calamus Avenue. First express stop, Grand Avenue at the Long Island Expressway. That's where the 10 starts flexing. From there, the 10 and 11 continue southwest via Grand Avenue. The 10 skips Fresh Pond Road, 58th Street, Rust Street, and Metropolitan Avenue because express means express. Afterwards, both trains cross the Brooklyn-Queens border, landing at Jefferson Street, Wyckoff Avenue, connecting with the L. But the 10 and 11 aren't done yet. It gets its own local stop at Wilson Avenue before both lines converge again at Myrtle Avenue, Broadway, creating a seamless connection to the J, M, and Z trains. That's not just the convenience, it's a strategy. It's a vision for how Queens and Brooklyn could be better connected. A system where the 11 train isn't just the 7 train's abandoned side chick. Let's keep diving in more. Now, if you're guessing what I'm about to do, yep, we're gonna build a Myrtle Avenue express and local system, serving the commute of Myrtle Avenue. Now, let me state the significance of the Myrtle Avenue subway. Deep behind the excuses, MTA didn't care about the horrible condition Myrtle Avenue was in and decided to destroy a completely vital crosstown with more significance than the G train in Brooklyn. I believe if Myrtle Avenue still existed today, it would have taken congestion off the A and C train. Now, why do I say this? The A train is one of the only dependent routes that could take you to J Street Metrotech from an east to west route. The Myrtle Avenue line did that as well. Because they nearly ran alongside each other on the same neighborhoods, this gave riders a fair chance, instead of walking 3 extra blocks to the G train. And plus, with the current upzoning around Myrtle Avenue, this line would have thrived today. MTA's main reason for removing Myrtle Avenue is due to the lower ridership, but in today's times, the B54 can prove that otherwise. On the stats, MTA claims that the B54 only has 1.5 million riders. But knowing that 30% of riders don't pay fares, this can easily be topped up to 2 million. which is feasible enough for a subway. Myrtle Avenue has been significantly gentrified, and I think this plan should have been reconsidered. Let's dive deeper into this. The 11 deserves its comeback. The 10 and 11 trains will continue their dynamic duo, reconnecting on the abandoned upper-level platform at Myrtle Avenue. And here's the irony. When the Myrtle Avenue subway was open, a train called the 11 operated there. That's right. The 11 train isn't just a fantasy. It's a re-resurrection. The route shows MJ, which was used after BMT wanted to stop using numbers, alongside with opening up Christie Street. After Myrtle was destroyed, its route was absorbed into the M and J trains, and after the Christie Street connection opened, it was rebranded as the M train. Some newer subway cars even use double-digit roll signs to represent alternative services. So the 11 was never fully forgotten, just buried in history. If you want to see remnants for yourself, the Myrtle Avenue Elevated History and Remnants video gives a deep dive into the line's legacy, while the last days of the elevated structure captures the final moments before it was shuttered. Now let's push this proposal forward. The first stations southwest of Myrtle Avenue would be Throop Avenue, Marcus Garvey Boulevard, and Marcy Avenue, which makes the connection to the G train. Meanwhile, after Marcy Avenue, the 10 train continues its express spree, skipping the 3 following stations: Kent Avenue, Washington Vanderbilt Avenues, and Fort Greene Park. Now here's where it gets more cinematic. After Fort Greene Park, the MTA could carve an underground entry here, borrowing mass from the park to shift infrastructure below ground. It's bold, but it's feasible. From there, the 10 and 11 trains stop at Flatbush Avenue, with transfers to the B, D, N, and Q trains. Flatbush gets additional platforms to connect to the 10 and 11 trains, creating a seamless interchange. And finally, the 10 and 11 trains continue west, tunneling beneath the R train at J Street, Metrotech. That's not just connectivity, it's legacy reborn. For more context on New York City's lost elevated line, Brooklyn's forgotten 5th Avenue L, the lost elevated line offers a haunting parallel, with the junction after Navy Street being connected with Myrtle Avenue. Let me know if you guys would want a video about 5th Avenue. J Street Metrotech seems like the perfect place to end the 10 and 11. But you know me, I don't stop at good enough. After J Street, the 10 and 11 trains keep pushing west, rising once again into the open air at a new local station, Court Street, elevated. Cinematic and unapologetically Brooklyn. From there, the 10 train goes full express mode, gliding past Columbia Street, Union Street, Dwight Street Battery Tunnel, and Bay Street. Its final destination, Red Hook. Red Hook has long been a transit desert, cut off by highways and hemmed in by water. But this proposal flips the narrative. The 10 and 11 trains don't just serve Red Hook, they anchor it. They give West Cobble Hill and Red Hook direct access to downtown Brooklyn, finally stitching together a community that's been left behind. And this isn't just a fantasy. Governor Cuomo once proposed a subway station in Red Hook as part of a revitalization plan, calling it untapped potential and urging the MTA to study new connections to Manhattan's Red Hook subway station, part of Cuomo's proposal to revitalize Brooklyn's neighborhood. The south part of the 10 and 11 trains are configurated, but how would I reconfigure the north side, aka the Bronx? Now that the southern section is locked in, let's talk about the northern expansion, the Bronx branch. The 10 and 11 trains split off from Flushing Main Street and head north via Parsons Boulevard. Local stations include 32nd Avenue and 24th Avenue, before reaching a new express station near the Whitestone Bridge. This isn't just a geographic leap, it's a symbolic one. The Whitestone Bridge has long connected Queens and the Bronx by car, but never by rail. And my vision changes this. Before these trains cross into the Bronx, I want to pause and address something that has stirred up a lot of debate. Around 70% of my viewers have called it controversial, extending transit from Queens to the Bronx. Now let's be real, a lot of people push back on this idea. They say it's unnecessary, unrealistic, or politically impossible. But here's the truth. We already have a transit lifeline crossing the Whitestone Bridge, and it's called the Q44 Select Bus Service, and it carries over 10 million riders a year. That's not just a niche route, that's a backbone. Prior to the COVID-19 era, this route was able to compete with Brooklyn's most popular buses. And there's no excuse for a bus to be that popular without a subway complementing it. And yet, we're asking people to wait in the cold, squeeze into overcrowded buses, and take turns at 5 miles per hour just to get across boroughs. Why are we okay with that? I've already tackled this in my H-Train video, but it's worth repeating. There's resistance not just to Outer Queens transit, but to any direct connection between Queens and the Bronx. And that's a problem. Because this isn't just about transit, it's about equity, accessibility, and common sense. Time savings like the Interborough Express, which saves time under 40 minutes, could deliver similar results, slashing commute times and boosting productivity. The IBX corridor serves nearly 900,000 residents and 260,000 workers. The Queens-Bronx corridor has comparable density and demand. But if you wanted to go into a deeper rabbit hole, we could talk about the major politicians who are involved with the problem of Queens and Bronx connectivity to transit, aka Robert Moses. He was New York City's so-called master builder, building highways, bridges, parks, etc. But he did so with a deep bias against mass transit in the communities that relied on it most. Robert Moses' legacy of exclusion and anti-transit bias diverted public funds away from subways and streetcars, dismantling elevated lines, especially in the Bronx, and leaving entire neighborhoods dependent on slow, overcrowded buses. His infrastructure favored suburban drivers while marginalizing poor and minority communities. For example, the Throgs Neck Bridge, allegedly designed to block buses, destroyed connectivity between East Whitestone and south of Throgs Neck. This isn't just history, it's the foundation of today's transit inequality. Even his influence waned in the 1960s. Moses clung to power through the Triborough Authority until 1968, when Governor Nelson finally pushed him out. His empire collapsed not through impeachment, but through public reckoning. The 1964 World's Fair was a financial disaster, and Mayor John Lindsay and Rockefeller merged the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority into the newly formed MTA. Now, the reason planners have historically opposed or failed to envision a direct transit connection between Queens and the Bronx isn't due to oversight. It's the enduring influence of Robert Moses. His car-centric ideology shaped generations of infrastructure designs, systematically sidelining subway expansion in favor of highways. You also have to put in mind that he has plotted highways and bulldozed houses in strategic places that used to thrive with dense popularity. The areas he bulldozed with high population now thrive with low population and depend on cars as if it's Staten Island. This wasn't passive neglect, it was deliberate suppression. Moses wielded immense power over New York's planning apparatus, rejecting proposals that would have connected working-class, transit-dependent communities, especially in outer boroughs like Queens and the Bronx. At the time, Hillside Avenue was at the demand of 2nd Avenue today. The Hillside Avenue extension was a prime example. It was never seriously considered because Moses engineered the system to keep rapid transit second tier. Even as public sentiment turned against him in the 1960s, get this, as soon as MTA had an actual chance to build more subway extensions when Robert Moses was knocked out of the way, guess what happened? The financial crisis. Without his crazy plans on destroying subways and making highways, more subway services could have been considered, like the Utica Avenue subway, and 2nd Avenue would have been built in the 1980s instead of us waiting for it to be actually built in 2060. I've got bets that I'm gonna be an old man when I finally see the T train connect to Brooklyn. So in a major conclusion, Moses' legacy still lingers. His institutional resistance to subways left a trail of canceled or stalled proposals. Hopefully I broke this down for you. In this proposal, the bridge isn't just a crossing, it's a transformation, rebuilt to support the massive weight of subway infrastructure. It becomes the spine of a new interborough connection. Once the 10 and 11 cross into the Bronx, they split off and dive into Zariga Avenue. From there, the local stations began to unfold. Randall Avenue, Bruckner Boulevard, and then a major interchange at Parkchester, East 177th Street, connecting the 6 and 6 express trains. It's a lifeline for one of the Bronx's busiest corridors. Next stop, Rosedale Avenue and East 180th Street, offering a direct transfer to the 2 and 5 trains. The station becomes a strategic node, bridging Pelham Parkway and the Dyer Avenue line, and giving riders a new way to navigate Bronx without detouring through Manhattan. From East 180th Street, the line continues through Southern Boulevard, 3rd Avenue, and Webster Avenue, stitching together neighborhoods that have long been underserved. Then comes Morris Park, an express station placed with surgical precision between the 4, B, and D trains. This isn't just smart planning, it's poetic justice for a community that's been left off the subway map for decades. The final Bronx crescendo, University Avenue and West Fordham Road, a connection to Metro North, and then unlocking regional access and giving Bronx riders a new gateway to Manhattan. For the final extension of the 10 and 11, they crossed the Harlem River into the northern tip of Manhattan, strategically placed between the A and 1 trains. This isn't just a new line, it's new logic. A quad borough spine linking up Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan without forcing riders through midtown bottlenecks. But here's the truth. This kind of vision is held back by planners who don't think outside the box, who settle for what's good enough, who treat outer boroughs like afterthoughts. The 10 and 11 trains could be the most transformative lines in New York City, but only if we stop designing transit around inertia and start designing it around people. Let's keep building. Let's talk about how we can finally fix the 7 train's Manhattan shenanigans. While some planners obsess over extending it to New Jersey, a move I find redundant given to PATH's existing coverage, the real opportunity lies in the opposite direction. A southern extension that targets underserved neighborhoods like Chelsea Piers, Soho, Greenwich Village, etc. These are dense, high-demand areas that deserve direct access to the Flushing Line speed and reliability. But we're not stopping there. It's time to revive the 7 Express in Manhattan, not just as a faster option, but as a true super express. The service would skip all intermediate stations between 34th Street and Chambers, allowing riders from Queens and Brooklyn to reach Manhattan or Lower Manhattan with unprecedented speed. Both the local and express would terminate at World Trade Center, unlocking seamless transfers to the A, C, E, R, 1, 2, and 3 trains. Now, why is this necessary? Because most express services in Manhattan begin at Chambers Street or West 4th Street, leaving Midtown riders with no true head start. A 7 Super Express would flip that script, giving commuters a direct high-speed bypass through the city's most congested corridors. It would also solve a long-standing transfer headache, which is the frustrating 20-minute walk between the 8th Avenue line and the 7 train at 42nd Street, Port Authority Bus Terminal. By anchoring the 7 train at World Trade Center, we create a direct interchange that relieves pressure at Times Square and streamlines service across the board. This isn't just a tweak, it's strategic reimagining, a way to balance ridership, reduce crowding, and finally give the 7 train the Manhattan presence it deserves. Before I end this video, I know I've been suddenly off the grid, but I have reasonings for this. I've been working on a Roblox game inspired off the Fulton Street line. However, the entire Fulton Street line isn't done yet as this video is recorded, and the game is still in beta, so expect unusual glitches. Either way, I'll put a link in the description so you guys can try it out. Now anyway, start to look out for more content, because from now on, my consistency will start to rocket up more. Anyway, I'll be seeing you in the next stop.